These days, when the harshness and vicissitudes of life in these parts have continued to make life expectancy increasingly shorter, it can only take the grace of God for anyone to attain the biblical 70 or 70 years on earth. To go well beyond this mark by over 3 decades before bowing out and taking a final rest is undoubtedly an unusual favor and blessing from God, reserved only for His anointed ones. Madam Josephine Egberongbe Albert, alias Mamaloke, the mother of the wife of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chief Mrs. Amina Titi Atiku Abubakar, who joined the Saints Triumphant recently at the very ripe age of 102 years, has indeed been specially favored and anointed by God. Perhaps the rare blessing of longevity was the way that God specially thanked her for being a staunch Christian who lived her life in the ways of the Lord, showering love and care to all, training them and giving life to them, irrespective of whether they were biologically related to her or not. Although the late Madam Albert, who was a strict disciplinarian, shrewd businesswoman and philanthropist in her lifetime, did not enjoy the benefit of Western education, she ensured that her children got the very best in terms of moral and academic education. The late Madam Josephine Egberongbe Albert, the mother of the wife of the Vice President, lived with her father in Togo while growing up. Her late father, Pa Atonle alias Ogaoshun, was a prince from Ijeshaland and a popular merchant and philanthropist. Madam Albert was married to Pa Samuel Nuru Albert from Lagos. Apart from being blessed with rare longevity, the late Madam Egberongbe Albert lived a very fulfilled life with many children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren who are very successful today. It was therefore a celebration of the life and times of this great matriarch of the Albert family, and friends, relations, associates, loved ones, and well-wishers from all over the country and beyond joined Mrs. Amina Titi Atiku Abubakar and her siblings as they gave their darling mother the best and most befitting burial any mother would wish for. The celebration began with a wake-up which took place at the home of the great woman in Lagos. It was songs of praise all the way and prayers for the late Madam Josephine Egberongbe Albert for God to grant her a peaceful rest in the world beyond. The funeral service for Madam Josephine Egberongbe Albert, who was a staunch Catholic till her death, took place at her church, St. Michael's Catholic Church, Louis Street in Lagos, where she was a leading member of the Ave Maria Society, among other societies. To further buttress the fact that the service was to celebrate the life of Madam Albert, most of the congregation, who are high flyers in the society, like the governors of Lagos, Adamawa, Ebonyi, Benue, and wives of the governors of Osun, Kwara, Benue, Lagos, Kogi, and Adamawa, as well as the deputy governors of Lagos and Osun states, turned out in resplendently gracious white colors. The service began as Chief Mrs. Titi Atiku Abubakar and her other siblings, in their immaculate colors, led the glittering all-white casket bearing the remains of their mother into the church, with the ebony pallbearers and the church choir supplying very solemn tunes, which the congregation chorused along with them. The officiating minister eulogized the virtues of the late Madam Egberongbe and admonished her children and others to emulate her. The service featured a lot of soul-lifting songs and thanksgiving by the children of the great woman. The ebony pallbearers made a great showing of the casket from the church to the Ikoyi cemetery, where Mama's remains were finally interred. The expansive Tufang Square grounds in central Lagos, which was venue for the reception, was besieged by a massive crowd which had defied the heavy downpour that had preceded the event. It was like a political rally, concert, or a big carnival. The common denominator was the special Ankara fabric chosen for the event. Guests turned out in different color variants of the Ankara fabric, making bold fashion statements in the way they designed them. Trust Nigerians, especially Lagosians, to capitalize on such occasion to show off their designs, heavily loaded with expensive jewelries and accessories. Three leading musical outfits in Nigeria's social circuits today performed at the event. These were the Compassion Band, Ade Olushayo, and Yinka Ifele. The atmosphere became charged when Chief Mrs. Titi Atiku Abubakar stormed the arena, looking really graceful and regal in her Ankara fabric with a dash of nylon lace on her sleeve to march. As she went round the arena to greet guests, she was accompanied by Swange dancers from Benue State and a troupe from the Osun State Arts and Culture Center. There were other drummers on the scene. It was indeed a cacophony of sounds of different cultures combining to make an interesting danceable rhythm. Perhaps the height of the ceremony was when the Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and his host, Governor Bola Tinubu of Lagos State, entered the arena. The crowd erupted into wild and spontaneous jubilation as Atiku and Tinubu went round to greet them. It was indeed a Herculean task for the security men to contain the ecstatic crowd, who had tried to catch a close glimpse of the powerful men who at best they had seen on the television or have read about on the tabloids. It was smiles and cheers all the way as Atiku and Tinubu meandered their way through the sea of heads as they attempted to take their seats in the special area provided for them. The new faces of the reception included those of former First Lady Hajia Mariam Babangida, former ministers and other friends of the Atikus from all parts of the country and beyond. The only item of the cards of the reception was dance, dance and dance, and the event provided a rare opportunity for people to see the exclusive dance steps of big shots like the Vice President, who was not given to dancing. Governor Tinubu and the wife of the Vice President and others were simply at home with the good music dished out by the musicians who were simply in their elements. We rejoice with Chief Mrs. Amina Titi Atiku and her other siblings for having been alive to give their darling mother, Madam Albert Egberongbe, a befitting burial. Our prayers is that your children will do exactly the same for you when you must have lived as old as Mama or even older.